Welcome to Living Multidimensionally, where we explore what it really means to be a soul having a human experience in a world that is far more magical, interconnected, and alive than we were ever taught to believe. I'm your host, Jillian, an Akashic Records channel, energy healer, and multidimensional guide. And this podcast is a space where we peel back the layers of the seen and unseen worlds. Here, we talk about the messy, beautiful, deeply human parts of life, and the moments that remind us we are ancient, infinite, and connected to something so much bigger. Here, I explore with you and guide you through the many layers of the spiritual journey. At times, I'm joined by friends, teachers, healers, and fellow travelers of the spiritual path. People who live with one foot in the physical world and one foot in the energetic realms, as we dive into the modalities, experiences, past lives, initiations, and everyday magic that shape us. This is a space for curiosity, embodiment, remembrance, and real conversations about what it means to navigate life as a multi-dimensional being, with humor, depth, and a whole lot of soul. So take a breath, open your heart, and let's journey in. Welcome back to Living Multidimensionally. So on today's episode, we have Jack Moses. So this is someone who has really expanded my perception of what is possible when spirituality, business, purpose, and freedom all come together in a very aligned way. So I first met Jack when he hosted a workshop inside the marketing program that I'm a part of. During this workshop, he pulled up our astrology charts and showed us how we could use them to better understand the way we operate within our businesses. It was the first time that I'd ever seen astrology applied in that way, and I was instantly fascinated. Something about it clicked for me, and I immediately wanted to learn more. After that, I booked a one-on-one session with him where I received some really powerful insights into my business, my online presence, and how I'm meant to show up on social media in a way that feels aligned and authentic to who I am. Jack is a really interesting person. He has clearly broken out of a lot of societal conditioning in order to create a life that is rooted in expansion, freedom, and adventure. And he later invited me into his community, which is a conscious creator community called Transcendence. It is filled with soul-aligned individuals from all over the world who are committed to actualizing their full potential. After joining in on some of these calls, I could immediately feel how powerful the energy of the community was. And I felt like it was a manifested glimpse of what I envision the future of Earth to look like, which is humans living lives of purpose, abundance, freedom, creativity, connection, and having inspiring ideas flowing between them. One of the reasons why I started this podcast is to showcase how spiritual concepts and deeper energetic understanding can be applied to the real world in ways that create transformation for people. And never before have I attended businessing, networking meetings that are focused on things like energetics of money, numerology, human design, astrology. And so being a part of this community has completely shifted the way that I view business and success. So Jack is currently in Chicago, although I have a feeling he's not going to be there for very long. He's traveled all over the world, hosting retreats, creating spaces for transformation and expansion. What I find especially inspiring about Jack is how much he has accomplished so early in life. He has created a life rooted in freedom, purpose, and expansion. And part of the reason I really wanted to have him on the podcast is because I know there are many younger men and women who might be listening who deep down feel there's more available for them, but don't believe it's possible. And I think Jack is such a great example of what it means to live multidimensionally and to consciously create a life outside of the traditional paradigm. So Jack, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jillian. That was very, very kind. Really appreciate your kind words, and you have me introspecting a bit over here already. So thank you. I'm excited to speak with you and be here.
Yes, I'm so excited. I think Yeah, just from the few conversations we've had, we always seem to have quite uh, deep and rich and expansive, and all these ideas always flowing. And I'm like, oh, I just want to have him on the podcast. So it's going to be a good one. So I always kick it off with the same question, and that is, can you share with the listeners who you are beyond the labels, the soul behind the work that you do?
Mm, great question. At the deepest levels, I'm a very sensitive person. Um, my friends and family are the deepest part of me. Even if I spend a lot of time doing business, creating content, being in the community, serving people, it's the thing that drives me the most is my current friends and family and my imagined future family, truthfully. Like that is what ignites every single morning when I look at a vision board. That is what brings tears up, is looking at my future family or a vision of what that could be like.
Hmm.
So that's a big aspect of who I am. And then that family extends out to the online community, bringing people together in person. And it's a big underlying reason of why transcendence even exists is to, and I don't want to get ahead of myself too much, but to build a web of connections first online, but then in person through retreat centers, community living, people living with their chosen soul families, people
Hmm.
meeting within the community, meeting their best friends for the rest of their life.
Hmm.
That is the deeper layers of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I love it. I love it. Yes. And that was actually something that I was wondering about you, because I know from my perception, you are very connected to your heart. And I was curious about what your connection was with your family, because I think how we are raised and brought up and the family dynamics that we experience or how we perceive our family really shapes a lot of who we become, and for better or for worse. But I think something, and I don't know if I'm oversharing, but Jack is 24 and he has already done so much. And like when I was 24, I was in the clubs, drinking, whatever, all this stuff. And like,
I'm still in the clubs drinking, by the way,
that's true, that's
sometimes.
true. But like at the same time, you've completely like traveled the world and like had all these like realizations and experiences. And so I was curious about um I guess like how you were raised. You must have had fairly supportive parents, or did you have to work through a lot of things when you were kind of breaking free?
Yeah, they always have been very supportive, although there has been points of friction and not understanding because if I go back to being 18, I got into a top 10 school in the US called Northwestern and I played football there.
Mm,
And I was studying economics. I was on my way to a finance job, a consulting job that would have been very high status and very high paying. But I slowly started to awaken within and with that see through the illusions of that game and realizing it wasn't the game I wanted to play or the life I wanted to live.
mhm,
And so there were points where I had to call my parents up and say, "Hey, I'm leaving college." And for them, and especially grandparents too,
mhm,
that was a crazy decision. Now, with the crazy decisions, they've always supported me. Like even skipping ahead a few years, going into the jungle of Peru and sitting with ayahuasca, my mom printed out my passport and my friends' passports for us, despite being very against the idea of doing it. She still supported. So there has always been this underlying support that I have felt very deeply, even if there isn't an understanding of why I might do certain things. But I think as I've gone, it's become more clear because when you show somebody some level of success or results, then it's easier to justify why you might take a different path.
mhm.
Versus if I was just traveling and was a hippie, they'd probably be much more concerned rather than traveling and being somewhat a hippie and being very ambitious and focused at the same time.
Being both. Yes, totally. Yeah, I resonate with that as well. My parents, like the same. Although I didn't go as far, I went about 3 hours away, but it was very much like they didn't want me to, but they also weren't gonna say no. Like they were like, yeah, and they tried to convince me to come back to work a personal training job at like the Good Life so many times, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And it wasn't until I started having success that I actually saw that reflection back from them. So I can definitely relate to like once you kind of prove yourself almost in a way, then they are like, okay, okay, you're good. When you were mentioning slowly awakening while you were in school and kind of going down a certain path, do you remember or have like a specific moment or like a specific situation that kind of happened where you were like, oh, wait a second, like, no, or I'm gonna shift?
There were many. To highlight a few, one was I was working this finance job, this internship, and on the last, in the whole internship, I just like faked like I was working. I would just read books in the corner. I would watch football highlights. I would do other things, and I would fall asleep in meetings. And my supervisor on the last day, we were doing like an exit interview, and he was like, "Did you like this?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, like, did you really like this? This was a pretty open-minded guy." And I was like, dude, honestly, no. It was first time I admitted it to anybody. And
Mm,
he's like, well, you don't have to do this. And I was like, what? I don't have to do this? I thought I have to go work a finance job. That's just the path. And so that was one moment that broke me out. And then it deepened with a first time doing psychedelic mushrooms and just really having my perception shattered of like who I could be.
mhm,
Traveling opened that summer. And then it just, there were more little things that deepened, but they were oftentimes preceded by pain
mhm,
and suffering.
mhm,
So, like the conversation with the guy who told me I didn't have to do finance. Well, what came before that was multiple months of like deep pain and suffering. Like it was a very hard time.
mhm,
Even the first time going to talk to a therapist was preceded by a lot of anxiety, relationship issues, etc.
mhm.
So, those were a few moments. And then there were bigger moments that broke me open a lot further. I feel like I haven't had one of those moments in a while, which is interesting. It's like, is it coming? Like, I feel pretty stable actually. Like, I haven't done any psychedelics in quite a long time, probably like at least 20 months, maybe like 22 months. So I'm like very grounded right now, but I still remember everything and I live from those planes to the best of my ability, but
Mhm.
I don't want to be broken open again right now.
And maybe you've been broken open like enough times where it can be more sustainable now. Because I know I resonate with the psychedelic plant medicine, other kind of medicine journey. And for me, it was the same thing. I had a couple really profound mushroom experiences. I don't know what yours were like. I always did them by myself, and I would just
Hmm.
like have these crazy experiences that absolutely shifted things. But then there came a point where I just didn't really feel like I needed it anymore. And even when I would try mushrooms, I felt like I already was kind of living that, like a lot, not much changed in my regular experience. And I was like, am I just like permanently in a state of mushrooms now?
Yes.
So it could be something like that where you've kind of like come to the level that the mushrooms were bringing you to just like naturally.
Hmm. Yeah, that's resonant. I mean, I've had a time where I've taken LSD and like nothing really changed. Um, I actually had an experience last summer, 2 summers ago, where I was hosting a retreat and we were doing a mushroom journey. And before doing it, I was debating if I was going to do it or if I was just going to be sober and watch over everybody. And when I sat with the idea of doing it, I felt a feeling in my body that I have connected to self-abuse in some way.
Mm,
And it felt like it would have been self-abuse to take more because like I don't need anything more. I
hmm.
don't need to be broken open further right now. I just have to take what I've learned and saw and actually apply it in
Yeah,
my life.
integrate it. Yeah. And I think that's so important when it comes to plant medicine is the integration period after. Um,
Hmm.
so you mentioned mushrooms. I think I've heard you talk that you've done ayahuasca before. Yeah.
Hmm.
And would you contribute, well, you mentioned that those were big shifting factors for your journey, but how would you say those experiences shifted you to where you're at now?
Yeah, the first time I did mushrooms, I had the realization that I was still playing football at the time. And I was like, my potential as a football player is going to peak at 22 years old. But if I'm a writer, I don't know where that came from. It just came into my awareness. If I'm a writer, my potential won't peak until I'm like 80. So I can start playing this game. And then that led to starting to write more, starting to publish, and then starting to write online like 6 months after that. So that was the first domino that really fell. After that, subsequent experiences have just been like deepening into what am I here to do?
Hmm.
And how does it actually look like? The first time I sat with ayahuasca, the biggest realization I had was I'm supposed to become a YouTuber, which is kind of funny because you would expect it's like the deepest stuff would come up. And it was the deepest. I went so deep into my past and everything about myself. And then what came out of that was I have to become a YouTuber. So it's like grounding these really wild, deep thoughts into practical action. And there's been a handful of other times, but those are maybe the two biggest examples.
Cool. Yeah, as you're talking, I'm just like, it's so interesting, like modern spirituality, because obviously so many of the concepts and everything that we study and apply are like ancient old concepts, and then we've gone through this period of modernization, and like I just think it's like comical from the guides that they're like, and you're going to be a YouTuber, and like it's like, okay, wait, what? Like I just read this text that was like in the emerald tablets and you're telling me I'm going to be a YouTuber. But that's like why we have technology right now. Like that's the purpose of it, is to be able to connect people from all over the world and to have this bigger network. And I love what you mentioned when we were starting about like actually bringing people together in person. I think that is like the next phase of this online community, is meeting in person and like bringing these conscious high vibrational humans all together in one spot in different places over the world. And I think that's going to be really exciting and really cool as it expands.
Yeah, we have some things cooking up. I'll They're not materialized yet or in motion too much, but if you're listening and you want to meet up with all of us in person, I'd recommend joining Transcendence because we're gonna do free meetups, we're gonna do very cheap events just to try to bring people together. So
Hmm.
it's gonna be within the community.
Yeah, very cool. And very cool humans in Transcendence. One of the things that I have found that I love most so far about the Transcendence community, which I on my podcast episode that will be published right before this one with Lily, we talk about this a little bit, but is just this evolution of masculine and feminine energy that I see in all of the people in this community. And obviously I mostly work with women, and what I've realized is women want to be in touch with their feminine energy, but what they need to heal is their masculine, whereas men want to be in touch with their masculine, but what they need to heal is their feminine. And I think
Hmm.
there's so many really cool examples of men in this community specifically that actually are doing the work to integrate that energy. um, I guess like, yeah, do you have any thoughts on that, or on your experience of integrating those energies within yourself?
Hmm. Well, by nature, I have a lot of feminine energy.
Hmm.
By training, I developed a lot of masculine energy,
Hmm.
football, finance, business, etc.
Hmm.
And I was overdeveloped into the masculine, and it led to me always escaping into addictions, escaping into vices, escaping into binge eating, weed, outlets that are sensual or inherently feminine because it was lacking from my actual life. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until I paused business for 3 months, went to Thailand, and did nothing that I actually found that part of myself and I found peace within myself and I found the freedom to dance and to do ceremonies and to be very close and intimate with people that I hadn't been for quite a long time.
Hmm.
And then naturally, strangely, the binge eating that I had been controlling for so long just vanished out of my consciousness. Like it was no longer a concept. It just didn't happen because I had reached an internal point of more integration or stability.
Hmm.
So that's been my experience with it. I think the world is moving towards more awareness of this. Maybe most people wouldn't know to label it as feminine energy, but if you look at our generation, the generation before us, so many men have these addictions and issues because their life has been overemphasized into robotic, masculine type of work and living.
Hmm.
And instead of trying to control everything even more to transcend their addictions, well, what if they surrendered into the soft side of themselves, which is scary at first,
Hmm.
and then they would just fade away and become irrelevant?
Hmm. Totally. Yeah. And like that, I mean, to me, hearing you say that, it makes a lot of sense because it's like the binge eating addictions, all of that is like an overactive sacral chakra. So it's like all this energy that is like stored within you that doesn't have an outlet or hasn't been expressed. And so it's appearing in ways that are unhealthy or not serving you rather than allowing it to balance. And it's interesting how the pendulum always swings one way and the other until it starts to find balance in the middle. You know, you swinging into more of that masculine, structured, kind of controlled energy, and then kind of totally the other way, and then coming back into that balance within, I think is super powerful and a super powerful place to be. And part of what makes, because I mean, I think transcendence is quite a magnetic community, and in order to be magnetic, you have to be in touch with your feminine energy. So
Hmm.
I think there's a lot to be said, like just in the reflection of what you're creating with how integrated those energies are within you, and also I think it's like a role model in a sense for other men because I really think all men are capable of this kind of stuff. And I think the next generation actually is going to be much more balanced in this, but it must feel pretty good, or you must feel pretty proud of what you've created so far.
It's interesting. Um, I'm grateful for what we have so far, but I feel like it's just the tip of the iceberg. Like nothing has, we haven't done much. That's how I feel. Like and maybe that is the masculine. It's like there's so much more to do.
Yeah.
Like if this is going to be a 50-year 50 arc,
Hmm.
we're in the first 1%. Like in football terms, like kickoff just happened. Like that's pretty much how I see it. So I don't feel proud because there's there's not enough substance yet to be proud of, to be truthfully
Which
honest.
is just crazy. Oh, but that's great. I mean, I get it. I always feel like I'm just getting started all the time. So I guess talk since we're on the topic of transcendence, can you explain? Well, you've talked a little bit about the community, but what I want to ask is how you have woven your gifts into this community in order to create it.
Hmm. My mind goes to speaking astrologically.
Mm.
Um, okay, I'll give a basic astrology answer and then I'll go back maybe to a more tangible answer. In astrology, and I'm going to talk Vedic astrology. I could also talk Western, but I'm going to talk Vedic, which is Eastern astrology. My sun and my Mercury are conjunct in the ninth house of Cancer. Now, what that means is sun is my ego and my core nature, and Mercury is my communication ability. The ninth house is the house of teaching, and Cancer is the sign of emotional nurturance. So I see those elements together as the astrology class that I'm going to teach in about an hour feels so energizing to me because it's so aligned with my energy.
Hmm.
On the other end of my chart, in my third house, which is quick communication, competition, structure, I have Capricorn, where my moon and my Neptune and my Uranus are, which are my mind, my imagination, and my desire for societal transformation. in a house that is Capricorn, which is structure. So it's building a structure from my imagination to have some type of societal change. And then on the other side of the chart, I happen to be teaching some of it. There's other aspects too of like bringing partnerships in and maybe being some symbol of courage from my first house. But we don't have to go crazy deep into the astrology. Um, Something that if I look back at my childhood too, everybody can do this if you're listening. Like your natural gifts, your highest expression are hidden in your childhood. And so as a kid, I was always the one that would gather my friends, that would go outside of my immediate circle to say, hey, let's go invite these guys from the next school, or hey, let's go talk to these girls from this school. Let's bring them all together and let's organize something big. Let's have a fun party. Let's like do something fun. What I realize now is it's the same thing manifested in a business sense, but it's the same thing I was doing as a kid.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, very cool. I mean, I totally resonate with that as well, with like the things that you were naturally good at as a kid become what you who you are, what you're meant to be. I also notice a lot now with my inner child being more integrated within me is there are lots of things that my inner child actually didn't get to experience or didn't enjoy because of what was happening around me and like the ideas and the beliefs and everything that I created at that time, where now as an adult I fully enjoy them as my inner child in ways that she actually never experienced when she was a child. So I love that like expansion of the inner child because like really in a way it's also like your inner child is creating the business.
For sure. Exactly. And I think that's the highest expression.
Totally.
What what are some of those traits that you see manifesting now in your adult life from your childhood, or what are you now experiencing that you didn't get to?
Well, so first, I loved teaching when I was really small. I would teach my little sister, like my mom always says, like Emily, uh, didn't like grade one because she already knew everything because I taught her everything she needed to know before she went to grade one, so it was boring. But I always loved teaching. But in terms of like the more playful, like fun, creative outlets that aren't necessarily productive, so like gardening, sewing, singing, dancing, actually like church hymns, all of those things when I was little felt like I did them because I had to do them. Because my mom would be like, okay, today we're gardening. Okay, today we're scrapbooking. Okay, today we're going to church. And I was like rebellious and or like I didn't like being told what to do. So I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to. I just want to lay on the couch and watch TV, which for me, I'm a projector. So projectors need rest and operate a lot differently than other people, but I was also raised in a environment where rest was not allowed. Like on weekends, we cleaned the house. If you were laying on the couch when mom got home, like shit was gonna hit the fan. So I never actually got to rest and like feel okay about resting. And so now as an adult, I actually really like singing like the church songs. I don't go to church anymore or anything like that, but I really like singing the church songs that I hated when I was like 8. And I like gardening and I like sewing and I like went to my mom's house and got a sewing machine and she's like, "Are you sure you want this sewing machine? Like I thought you didn't like it." Because like now I get to do it because I want to do it because I have the freedom to do it and it doesn't feel like work or like you have to do this. Um, and I right before my business picked up in the last couple months, I naturally found myself wanting to do more creative things. I went through a pretty big period of burnout the last couple years, and I was really deep in scarcity, like really going through this time of surrender and trust. And all of my focus was on keeping myself alive. Like, how am I going to pay for my next meal? How am I going to pay my phone bill? Like, so much energy going into that that I didn't even realize. And then once that shifted and I shifted into abundance, like suddenly I just had all this energy for other things. And so it started with
Hmm.
sewing and dancing and whatever. And then all of a sudden my business picked up and now I'm creating content and reels and all of this every day, and I don't feel burnt out. I feel excited. Like I'm like, what song do I get to put on my reel today? Like I love doing it. And 2 years ago, it felt like the last thing I wanted to be doing. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting how once you get out of scarcity, once you have some semblance of abundance, or even if you can recognize it within yourself, then your creative ability is unlocked, your ability to play both like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. That is then what makes you more money. It's this crazy paradox. It's like the Matthew principle from the Bible. It's like whoever has will be given more.
Hmm.
And so when you have a bit, or you can recognize what you have and you don't need, you're not chasing, paradoxically, you can go make way more because you're coming from an energy of not needing and you're just playing. And when you're playing, you're more creative. When you're more creative, you can give value better to people. So that's
Totally.
an amazing example. And I'm very happy for you that that has been the transition because that's a beautiful transition to experience.
Yeah, it's been wild. And it's so cool because on when I joined Transcendence, it's I've been in this period of expansion, I would say, for most of this year. But right before joining the marketing community with Nicholas, which then led me to Transcendence, I was very much in a period of isolation. I had got like lost a lot of my close friends. My healer was MIA. I was just like ChatGPT was my BFF for a couple months, like literally didn't have like that's who I talked to. And I was like, okay, this means new communities coming. Like this must be what it means. And sure enough, like now all of a sudden I'm around all these people and the crazy, like I love what you're saying about like the play, like being in this energy of play and joy. I feel like now that I've actually got to experience it, it also strengthens my work and my program because I'm a living example of what I've been teaching and what I've always known to be true, but was hoping was true. Like I was like,
Yeah.
this has to be true because this is my belief. And like my belief is always whatever's going on inside is going to be reflected externally. So I'm like, okay, if I can clear out enough of what is not true, I know abundance is my birthright. I know this. I know abundance is everywhere. I once I can get to that place where I fully believe that and I'm experiencing that, there is going to be no other option but for the outside world to reflect it. And sure
Hmm.
enough, that's exactly what happened. And being in that energy of play and joy and creativity, um, that's what the universe wants. Like that's what your soul wants. That's what God wants. That's what the universe wants for everybody. Um, I did a meditation on money because I read somewhere like meditate and call in the spirit of money. And like I believe everything has a spirit. So I called her in and I saw and another powerful practice is like when you think of money like coming to you, how do you see it? Because depending on where it's coming, and that is like a subconscious example of how you're relating to money. And so at
Mm.
first, the money was, oh, I can't remember where it was coming at first, but okay, I can't remember right now. But then I saw money in front of me, and she was like dancing and I was watching
Hmm.
her dance and I was like, okay. And she was in her body, like when you see someone doing ecstatic dance where they're not thinking about dancing, but their body is just doing what it does. And I was witnessing it first. And then I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to put myself in that body of money and I'm going to see how I respond. So I put myself in there. And at first, I noticed I was performing and like trying to dance. And then I thought, well, that's not how money was dancing. Like, okay, like what if I get into that flow? And then I realized that was a mirror to my what was happening in my business where I was in a sense performing trying to get money. And
Hmm.
so I started shifting up all of my sales calls, all of my meetings, everything to like, okay, maybe I don't fully feel like this version of myself yet who is successful and is like, that boss bitch and whatever else, but I'm like, I'm going to pretend. Like I'm going to play. I'm going to put on the clothes. I'm going to like I'm going to pretend that that's who I am and I'm going to have fun with it. And then it was just like boom, just like instantly everything like I was just closing sales and like everything started to change.
Mm. That's a powerful meditation. I'm gonna try that. Like I'm kind of doing it a little bit right now. Like I can see in my mind's eye the old frequency of money or subconscious belief, and it's like it's dangling in front of me,
Hmm.
and I just have to grab it. But then when I imagine what is the higher frequency, what is the new self, it actually emanates from within.
Oh, very cool. And so I read there's this book, um, Money's Not the Problem, You Are. It's a so
Great title.
yeah, and it was saying like if the money's in front of you, it means like it's in the future. It's always going to be just out of reach. You're always going to be like seeking for it. And like if it's behind you, it means that you are you think you've already had your money. Like you think that you've already reached your peak, and like if it's on one side, you're going to have to work hard, and if it's on the other, you're expecting handouts or something like that. And then the way I saw it when I tapped in was like it coming from everywhere. And I actually plugged in my visual into ChatGPT and was like, make this into a version of money. And it was like a lady in a jingle skirt and all and like pink and beautiful. And it used American dollar bills. And at that time, Nicholas was trying to convince me to shift my pricing to USD from Canadian. And I was like, okay, message received. We're going USD.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's powerful.
very cool stuff. Yeah, money is, I don't know. Well, I know you have a ton of stuff out there about money. So anyone listening, like Jack's got rivers of money and mountains of money and all the money metaphors. But have you ever considered or thought about like your relationship with money being like a relationship with your parents or a romantic relationship, or have you ever correlated those energies at all?
Yes, it's a great question. It's something I've been thinking about much more deeply as of recent.
Hmm.
I see it as very closely paralleled with romantic relationships for me.
Hmm.
And the reason I say that is because I haven't had a romantic relationship in a long time. I've had a lot of like flings or meet somebody for a few days while I'm traveling or meet somebody on Instagram that I probably never meet in my life, but like there's an interesting connection.
Hmm.
And with money, the past few years, I've made money the same way. I've made money a little bit here, a little bit there, launch this, launch that, partner with this person, but nothing was committed. Nothing was long term.
Hmm.
So I've been reflecting on that as well as the intimacy of money. This could be a good article or something to write about. But I noticed myself, I journaled on this last night, so it's quite timely. If somebody asked me, how many followers do you have? I could instantly tell you. But if somebody said how much is in your bank account, I would have to go look.
Hmm.
So I had been in my mind living one step beyond the substance of my value and projecting it onto social media followers and holding that in higher importance than the actual money in my bank account. What now with relationships, I haven't had the I haven't looked as closely as I have recently as like who are the who is actually of the frequency that I would want to commit to. And I had been more interested in the excitement and dopamine of I'm really exposing myself or going really real here, but um who followed me on Instagram? This girl swiped up on my story. This girl is messaging me, and they all are exciting, just like the followers or the likes, but they're not the substance. So
Hmm.
seeing through the illusion of those things and only putting importance or care for what's the true substance, the actual money in my account, the people I can serve and impact, and or the woman who will be my girlfriend, which I
Interesting.
don't know who that is still, but
It'll happen when it's supposed to. I'm wondering if maybe when you're doing some of these in-person things where it's more intimate, maybe one of those you'll stumble upon someone.
it's possible, but it's not my intention.
No, no. Well, of course, I'm not putting. I'm just. That's my brain is like, this correlates in person, intimate. Um, no, I totally. I'm just like, I'm like thinking about my own. I'm like, whoa, this is, now my brain's going. But for me, with money and relationships, it was the same because I had a very anxious attachment. And it was one of the last things I wanted to look at. Like everything in my life was seemingly great. Like I'd healed my mother wound, I'd healed all these things. And like I was healed. But then when I got in romantic situations or relationships, I was like a 12-year old. Like I had these weird like responses or like body responses, or like I would act like reactive or things that I was like, this is so weird because I thought I'd healed this, but then it's showing up here. And it was one of those things where I was always like, ick, don't want to look at that. Like everything's fine. I'm going to meet the guy that'll just accept me for all of that. So it will be fine, right? And then finally, a couple years ago, well, I guess, yeah, somewhere along there, I was like, okay, I see that this is my attachment style and I still don't have money. And these are the two things I want most in life. And I don't have either. So I guess maybe it's time to like go in and look at those things. And I had attracted a mirror that served its purpose to help me heal through that anxious attachment and actually sit with it and be okay with space, which was a huge thing for me because growing up never had space. Like I mentioned earlier, like I was always had something to do, and like resting was uncomfortable, and like space just felt really bad. And so I had to like sit in it. And then that's when I realized like, yeah, like I have that same push pull relationship with money that like I really need you, but then I actually don't, like then you go away and then where are you? And that same dynamic was really playing out with money as it was in my romantic relationships. And so once I got okay with feeling through that uncomfortable energy, it also really started to shift in my relationship with money. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so it's quite interesting how those wounds correlate um, on such levels. Because like I never considered like what you're saying about like the intimacy and like the like your perspective of it is what is I feel very different than mine, but also the same theme, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, the same patterns will manifest in every single area of life. And
Hmm.
if you can bring awareness to them, then you can change them. But if you never look, then you keep running the same. That's why it's called an unconscious pattern. You're not conscious of it. It keeps happening. When you look, it's uncomfortable because then you have to go look and change it, consciously choose to change it. But then on the other side, you get everything you want.
Yeah, yeah, literally everything changes. And it's the same, like it's all the places you don't really want to go where you're kind of like, I'd rather not, or oh, I'll do that later. Like mother wound was another one for me where I was like, it took me forever, but actually once I did that, literally that's what changed everything for me. And so, um yeah, I think that's a really important note is like the places you don't want to go are probably the places that will bring you actually what you want.
Yeah, you're bringing to mind, I have an email that I have to reply to that I have not wanted to look at.
There
So
you
thank you.
go. Yeah, yeah. No, it's yeah. And honestly, I don't know if you find this. Sometimes it's the anticipation of the thing is so much worse than the actual thing. Like leading up to doing the thing, you like what I notice with my clients, because a lot of my work is very intentional. And as much as I do work with my clients, I also have like weaved in so much energetic support and intention and everything from my clients' guides and my guides. And it's very much designed that whatever you're going through in your life is connected to what you're working through in the program, because it's bringing up like real world stuff that you're going to have to shift and move through. And a lot of times life will bring you something simply for the fact that you have to release the emotions that are attached to that thing. Like that thing actually doesn't even really have that much importance a lot of the time. It's that it's bringing an emotional response or reaction from you, and you need to feel through and release that thing to create more space within you, which is then going to create more space and allow you to be more connected to who you are. But like the actual thing itself isn't always super important or like actually that big of a deal.
Definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, I've had a couple times where I have to have a conversation and like for days leading up, I'm like sweating and worrying and thinking. And then the conversation happens and I'm like, oh my God, that was fine. Wow. And then your nervous
Mm-hmm.
system is like, oh, that was fine. And it's like your nervous system expands and suddenly you're in a new space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff. Ah, yes, I love I love all of these topics. I feel like there's so many different things that we've gone over. Um, what is something, I guess, starting to get into our closing up, but what is something that you wish more people understood about healing or awakening or the spiritual journey?
I think there's a tendency or a potential to get caught in a healing trap, like always feeling like I need to heal more or I need to process more, and not giving yourself permission to be who you are and be human,
Hmm.
and not recognizing that all spiritual growth, while you do have a part in it, there's also an aspect that is divine grace. It's just the grace of God that in the right moment, you have the right realization at the right time, or you like my body will have awakenings or releases at the strangest times while I'm watching a movie, while I'm sitting here talking to you. And it's just like it's happening. I don't have to do anything. I can just allow myself to be as I am and actually go watch the movie, go play Xbox, go have a good time and listen to music and drive the car and eat McDonald's. Like those things are okay. Maybe you don't want to optimize for them, right? Like you want to choose everything from love, but you can also allow yourself to be human, and you don't have to unnecessarily, and this is from my experience, like trap yourself in a self-discipline that is unnecessary or a rumination cycle. You
Hmm.
can allow yourself to be human, and the grace of God will bring you to where you're supposed to be.
Hmm. I love that. I totally agree. I also think, though, that there is some level of healing that has to happen to get to that place where you can understand that. Because I think
Hmm.
typically, like let's say you start unconscious, as most of us do, and we have something that kind of shifts us into that next level. I think there is a period of unlearning and healing and like getting stuck in certain disciplines or whatever else for a period of time, but ultimately it is leading to you to that place where you just get to be you and you just get to be human and show up. It's like that chart that people always post where there's like the guy that's like
Yeah.
whatever, and then it goes like this, and then you know what I'm talking about, that chart. Like
Yes.
that's how I see it, where it's like everyone also has that middle part, but I think, and I was actually just talking about this on my Instagram this morning, but like identity shifts, like you can choose who you want to be at any time. Like you're never stuck in one way of being. You could literally make a decision at in 1 minute from now that you want to be someone different, and you could be that different person. Like nothing that happened before is actually relevant besides the emotions that you attach to it.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
crazy. It's powerful.
there's this like Zen parable where like they show like the stages of awakening from the Buddhist perspective, and the enlightened guy at the end of the story is just in the market drinking beers and smoking cigarettes. And it's like, again, it's this you don't want to optimize for it or avoid things in favor of destructive behaviors. But I think you're exactly right. At the end, not saying I'm at the end, but when I maybe touch the end, it's just you get to be as you are.
Hmm. Well, you're simultaneously at the end and not at the end at the same time because it's all
Exactly.
happening.
Right. Exactly.
Yes, yeah,
Mm.
it's the perfectly imperfect phrase. Like I always, people are always like, you could never be perfect, and I always believe the opposite, where I'm like, no, you're always perfect, actually.
Hmm. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you've had some glimpses or understandings of past lives.
Hmm.
Do you see yourself attempting to complete the same mission or playing out the same exact story in the modern age as you have seen in past lives?
Well, Yes and no. So from my awareness, have actually only had one past life actually on Earth. Most of my past lives have been other places. And my only life that I tried to have on Earth, I took an early exit point. So I actually overdosed and left very early on. And so it was really hard for me because, and a lot of people will resonate with this, but those of us that are naturally very high vibrational, maybe not from here souls, Earth is really hard because it's one of the only places where we have such a duality of emotions, like such low lows and such high highs. But at the same
Yeah.
time, a lot of high vibrational souls think before they come down here like, oh, that's easy, I can do that, like that's fun, that sounds like it's gonna be good, and then they get here and it's like, holy crap, that's not what I was expecting. And so I think that I worked through a lot of that in my younger years because I did have addiction and substance abuse issues when I was in my early 20s, and I think I sort of transcended that and got past that. So I do think I've consciously entered new timelines that maybe weren't even possible, like projected for myself. Like because there's multiple timelines available to you, and I know for a fact at one point the timeline I was in was like I was gonna stay with my abusive ex and we were gonna have a baby, and I like saw it happening, and I was like, actually no, I don't want this, and so I like the next one. So yes and no, in that I think I played out a lot of what I'd had in a past life and I've moved past it in this life. And I think also um, there are a lot of deeper themes from my past lives that I actually still haven't fully realized yet in terms of my power and my potential and what I came here to do. I think honestly, there's a lot more coming for me that I haven't touched yet, and
Yeah.
like the life that I am creating for myself.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very powerful. And I would imagine that the lives that you maybe have glimpsed on other planets or in other dimensions, etc., your soul is playing out a similar mission to those. At
Yeah.
least that's how I feel for myself.
Hmm.
And then I've had the realization that all those timelines, thousands of years ago or whatever, are all happening in the now, just on different layers, different timelines. And I'm like, oh, I see the exact same thing in both. Where did I fuck up in that one? Or what did I not accomplish in that one that I was meant to? Or what have I not stepped into in this one that I did in that one?
Hmm.
And then at the end, maybe it all just collapses into pure enlightenment, singularity. I don't know. I haven't got there, but this is something, again, you asked at the start, like, what is your soul? Like, not what you do. These are things that are in my awareness every single day, but I appear to be a business consultant.
Yeah, well, you're doing it from a very soul aligned way in the modern era, using your gifts in the world that we are right now. The way I see it, and when I do Akashic Records work, so essentially, we're all we all have like a light grid, like a light body, a soul grid of who we are as a soul that is like perfect. It's like fully healed, fully who we are, no energetic blockages, pure us. And it exists right now. It's there. And then as we go throughout lives and like what we've wanted to learn, what we've maybe experienced in one life, but maybe we like had trauma and died, and so we never moved through that trauma and it got stuck. Maybe we had like a karmic relationship and we never learned our lesson, so we're repeating that loop or whatever. All of those things that have been stuck or haven't been healed are showing up in this present moment, but underneath it is that soul expression that is the same throughout all lives. So like yes, you're
Hmm.
always going to be kind of doing the same thing on the same mission on the same path, and then coming back around to move closer to the light or closer to your soul self and come across whatever energetic blockages there are. You're going to come across it in this life in one way or another. So like past lives are irrelevant in a sense, the reason they are relevant or helpful is so that you have a deeper understanding of the patterns or of the experiences, so that when you come across them now, you can move through them and alchemize them.
Beautifully said. That gives me some insight.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I could go I could go for days about the Akashic records, and I mean I am going to talk about them a little bit in a workshop, so maybe you'll be able to attend that in the Transcendence community that's coming up. But yeah, there's I feel like I hardly even touch on the stuff I know in the Akashic records on social media very often, but um one of my biggest passion, like I'm very curious and I want to know it all. Like I want to know all the layers. I don't just want to know some of them. Like I want to understand all of it. And so I have spent a lot of my life learning more and more and more to like have that bigger picture of how it works. I wouldn't be satisfied
Hmm.
if I didn't keep learning.
Same.
Yeah, amazing. Well, it's just about time to wrap it up. I want to ask you one question. I have a full lightning round, but we gotta start wrapping it up. So
We can run the lightning round. It sounds
we can
fun.
run the lightning round. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is your sun, moon, and rising?
Western.
Sure, Western.
Okay, we'll go Western. I'm sure more people are familiar. Western Sun, Leo, Moon, Aquarius, Rising, Sagittarius.
Okay, okay. I'm Leo, Aquarius, Capricorn. So similar. Yeah,
You're Aquarius Moon.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
See, for me, truthfully, in a strategy, business, vision sense, I'm like, oh, you're Aquarius Moon, like me. Okay, there might be Aquarius is community and decentralized networks.
Hmm.
Moon is your mind is oriented towards it. So that this is how a glimpse into how I think about business in an astrological sense is I know you have a proclivity towards seeing it in this way, which is aligned with the vision. Maybe there's a way we could play together in this.
Totally. Yeah, no, I love Aquarius is one of my favorite signs. Sun or moon, any kind of Aquarius, they're the best. And yeah, maybe I'm partial because that's my moon, but I just think Aquarius, I love that energy. Um, so spirit guides, loud or subtle?
Wow, nobody's asked me this before. Sometimes they're very loud. How it manifests for me is I hear them tapping in my environment. Sometimes they'll bang on the wall if I'm supposed to do something or hear something. Sometimes they're very subtle with a tap on my body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Interesting. This is not a lightning round question, but I want to add it in. Do you have access to your clair gifts? Like, do you have are you a hearer, a feeler, a seer? Do you know any of like,
Mhm. Mostly a feeler,
hmm same.
a seer. When I put my awareness to it, I can see something, but like always, it's the clairsentience.
Hmm. And I would imagine you also have the claircognizance, like inner knowing, like you randomly just know things without knowing why you know it.
Sometimes not as much. I haven't felt as connected to that one.
Interesting.
Is there one for smelling?
Yep.
Okay, that's there too.
That's cool. Yeah, no, definitely there is. Okay, we kind of touched on this, but do you have a past life that you relate to the most?
Yes.
And you're gonna leave it at that?
Yes. Yes.
Well, now I want to know more. What? That's not fair.
When
No
we
hint.
meet in person, I can tell you.
Okay, fair. Most random sign the universe has ever sent you.
Hmm, random. I posted an Instagram reel about this, but this was one like the best football game of my life this past year. Before the final snap where I threw a touchdown to win the game, a light flashed in the background behind where I was going to throw the ball. Like a car light just flashed in my eyes. And that's why I threw the pass. Not
Cool.
because of what the defense really did, not because I was supposed to. It was quite a risky thing to do, but I was like, God showed me.
Oh
Let's
my
do it.
God, that's
And then we
so
won the game.
cool. I love that. Also, side note, I've been watching Friday Night Lights like religiously for the last like couple days. And so anytime you talk about football, my mind instantly I'm like going to Friday Night Lights visuals. So funny.
That
Have
was
you
my life for a long time. I
have you
love that
seen that
show.
show? Yeah.
It's amazing.
Which character do you relate to the most on that show?
So there was the quarterback was Jason Street,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
then he got hurt. What was the
Yep.
second guy's name?
Matt Saracen.
I'd say I'm a mix of those two. I was a quarterback, so mix of those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. That's so funny. So random. Niche question.
Niche poll.
All right. Last question. Or no, yes, last question. And I already asked you this outside, but if you could visit one realm or dimension tonight in a dream, where are you going?
Wow. I'm probably going to Jerusalem around crucifixion time. I want to see what that was like. I want to see what he was like. Or
Cool.
I'm going to Egypt like 3,000 years before.
Yep.
I
Very
feel very
cool.
interested in those times.
Very cool. Interesting. I also love Egypt stuff too. Yeah. And very cool. See, the last time I asked you this, you said Hogwarts. So you've gotten a little deeper since then.
Yeah, wow, that's very funny. Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's so funny. I asked it on one of your polls one time on the Instagram thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I love the lightning round. That's so fun. You can
Awesome.
pull such niche information so fast.
Amazing. Yeah, it's super fun. I like catching people off guard a little bit and like just seeing what comes through. And I've
Those are
never
good.
gotten the same answer once on that last question. People have the most that's my favorite question to ask. People have the most interesting responses.
I love that question.
Yeah, amazing. Well, this has been so fun. I feel like we touched on like so many different things, which has been awesome. Did you have any closing thoughts, or did you want to share anything else about your community or where to find you?
I'm sure everything will be linked, but
Yeah.
I'm Jack Moses 777 everywhere. And you could send me a message, and we would love to have you in Transcendence to pioneer this movement with us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a good place. I recommend.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Jack. This has been so fun, and I'm so excited for everything that's to come and all of the growth that's going to happen for both of us, and being in the Transcendence community, helping to grow it, and all those good things. Definitely some in-person meetups in the future at one point or another. Uh,
Yes. This year it's happening.
it is, yes.
Book it, Thailand.
EDC, it's happening. Ah! Oh my
Yes,
God, I'm so excited.
me
Yes.
too.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, we will see you later. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. If something in this episode resonated, let it land. You don't need to understand it all right now. Integration happens in its own time. You'll find ways to connect and explore working together in the show notes, and you're always welcome to reach out if you feel ready to go deeper. Remember, you don't have to transcend your humanity to be spiritual. Your lived experience is the initiation. Until next time, stay curious, stay embodied, and keep living multidimensionally. May your days play out for the highest good. Namaste.